For more than 15 years, Goldie Hawn's absence from the Hollywood spotlight sparked endless speculation, but no rumor ever came close to the truth. When she finally addressed it on the Oscar stage this past March, she did not dramatize it or dress it up in metaphor. She simply said, "I had to save my life." 5 words, spoken calmly, yet weighted with decades of reflection. It wasn't a performance and it wasn't nostalgia. It was a moment of clarity from a woman who had learned that survival sometimes requires stepping away, even when the world expects you to stay. That sentence reframed her disappearance not as retreat, but as self-preservation, the most difficult and honest choice a person can make when success begins to cost more than it gives. Growing up, surrounded by art and silence, Goldie Hawn was born on November 21, 1945 in Washington, D.C., into a home rich with creativity and unspoken emotion. Her father, Edward Rutledge Hawn, was a talented band musician with deep American roots, while her mother, Laura Steinhoff, filled their house with dance, discipline, and grace. Music and movement were constants, but so was a quiet absence. Before Goldie and her sister Patty were old enough to remember, their older brother passed away, a loss that was never openly discussed. That silence shaped Goldie early, teaching her that joy and grief often exist side by side. It planted in her a sensitivity to emotional undercurrents and a powerful instinct to bring light wherever she could. Learning to speak through movement dance became Goldie's first language. By the age of 3, she was already training in her mother's studio, absorbing rhythm and expression as naturally as breathing. She didn't just learn steps, she learned how to communicate feeling without words. By 10, she was performing in the Nutcracker with the Ballet Russe de Monte Carlo, an experience that introduced her to discipline, collaboration, and the exhilaration of live performance. Dance gave her confidence and control, but it also taught her that art requires commitment. Even as a child, she understood that joy on stage came from effort behind the scenes. Independence at a young age. By 19, Goldie was already making bold choices. She paused her studies at American University and opened her own ballet school, teaching students only a few years younger than herself. It was an early sign of her independence and leadership, but also of her restlessness. While teaching offered stability, it didn't quiet her curiosity about the larger world. She sensed that her story wouldn't stay within familiar walls, and she trusted that instinct enough to follow it, even without guarantees. A risky drive toward the unknown. At 21, Goldie packed up her car, brought along her small poodle, and headed for California with modest savings and an open heart. The journey nearly ended in the Mojave Desert when her car broke down, leaving her stranded with little money and no plan. A stranger, a returning soldier, helped her reach safety, a reminder that vulnerability and courage often travel together. That moment reflected a pattern in Goldie's life. She trusted people, trusted movement, and trusted that forward motion mattered more than certainty. Television fame and typecasting Hollywood found Goldie quickly, but not deeply at first. Her appearances on Good Morning World and Rowan and Martin's Laugh-In made her instantly recognizable. Audiences loved her laughter and brightness, but the industry tried to freeze her there, mistaking warmth for simplicity. Behind the smile was a woman who worked relentlessly, studied her craft, and understood timing, structure, and storytelling. She enjoyed the success, but she also recognized the risk of being underestimated, and she quietly prepared to prove she was more than what people expected. An Oscar that changed everything. That proof arrived with Cactus Flower in 1969. Goldie's performance was honest, layered, and unexpectedly moving, earning her an Academy Award for Best Supporting Actress. She wasn't even present when her name was called. She was asleep in London, making the moment feel surreal rather than triumphant. The win didn't inflate her ego, it affirmed her instincts. Talent, she learned, didn't need to shout. It only needed the right moment to be seen. Taking control behind the camera. As her career grew, Goldie became increasingly aware of how few opportunities women had to shape their own stories. When she developed Private Benjamin, she didn't just star in it, she produced it, fought for it, and guided it through skepticism. Studio executives doubted that audiences would support a woman-led comedy rooted in personal growth rather than romance. Goldie proved them wrong. The film became a massive success and redefined what female-driven projects could achieve, not just creatively, but commercially. A golden era built on choice. The 1980s marked a period of creative freedom. Films like Overboard, Bird on a Wire, and Swing Shift allowed Goldie to balance humor with intelligence, charm with agency. She wasn't chasing trends, she was choosing roles that felt alive. Her success wasn't accidental. It was curated through intuition and experience. Over time, her films amassed billions in adjusted box office earnings. But what mattered more was that she remained in control of her narrative. Strength through collaboration. Goldie's influence extended beyond her own performances. With the First Wives Club, she helped create a space where women supported one another on and off screen. Rather than competing for attention, she encouraged balance and unity, setting a standard rarely seen in Hollywood. The film's success proved that collaboration didn't weaken star power, it strengthened it. Love, motherhood, and hard lessons. Goldie's personal life brought its own challenges. 2 marriages ended not from lack of care, but from misalignment and pressure. Through it all, she centered her children, Oliver and Kate Hudson, choosing stability and presence over resentment. She allowed pain to teach rather than harden her, remaining open to growth even when disappointment would have justified withdrawal. A love that chose freedom. Her relationship with Kurt Russell became one of Hollywood's most enduring partnerships precisely because it rejected convention. They chose commitment without formal obligation, building a family rooted in trust, humor, and daily choice. Their love wasn't performative. It was lived, steady, and intentional. Walking away with grace. When Goldie stepped back from Hollywood, it wasn't from bitterness, it was from wisdom. She understood that peace required boundaries, and that success without balance was unsustainable. Instead of explaining herself, she lived quietly, focusing on family, wellness, and meaning beyond applause. A legacy defined by choice. Goldie Hawn's life is not a story of disappearance, but of discernment. She knew when to step forward and when to step away. Her legacy is built not only on awards and box office numbers, but on integrity, resilience, and the courage to prioritize life over image. In choosing herself, she left behind a blueprint for longevity, one rooted in authenticity, kindness, and the strength to listen to your own voice when the world gets loud.